to Q2 Stadium, where Austin FC beat the Houston Dynamo tonight 2-1. It was 2-0 till the end, Victor, and Houston pulled back. Julio Cascante put in an old goal.
Back into this game. To be exact.
Yeah, but it was an exciting finish, and sets up an exciting finish to Copa Tejas with Austin FC going up to Frisco next week, Saturday. I wrote in my 3 takeaways, which you can go look at on the Striker Texas, that this is going to be essentially a final between Austin FC and FC Dallas, and hopefully the teams because I know that the fans are too. So that's kind of an interesting tidbit. But I guess, tell folks a little bit about what your talking points are after this game. What you wrote about on the Striker Texas.
Yeah, I mean it's a missed opportunity for Houston. Obviously, it's in the bigger picture of the whole season, it's another lackluster performance on the road. And we talked about in the pregame, Houston was coming in here still not having a victory away. And they have one more game. It's going to be at Montreal, and it doesn't look like it's going to.
Right.
It doesn't look good. It looks like it's going to be winless on the road, and that sort of speaks obviously to the history, the quality of players that Houston has had over the last couple of years. But just how kind of things are. It's going to play into Tab Ramos. Is he going to stay on as the coach? The plot thickens in a lot of ways, but ultimately it was a way to kind of take a little bit of the spotlight back, good feelings, even though it was a disappointing season. But ultimately, they come up short here with a good traveling contingent from Houston.
It was cool to see that crowd up in the corner, making some noise and sort of giving it back to obviously the Verde wall over here. But obviously started off early. Cecilio Dominguez getting pulled down in the box. His new hair, I guess, paying off for him. He almost blew this penalty, Victor. Have you ever seen something like this before? And somebody asked us, John Lupo from Babel asked us if we'd ever seen an own goal off of a penalty kick, and I'm not quite sure I can answer that.
It just kind of adds to the weirdness, right? That gets. I mean, we had an own goal the last game that Houston came up to visit.
Well, it actually never got marked an own goal.
Right.
It still went to Tomas Pochettino.
Right.
But this time that the scorekeeper got it right and took one away from Cecilio.
And then there was an own goal to end the game as well. So from the Austin side, to make it 2-1 Houston. So it's ultimately it's just when things are going wrong. I mean, everything goes wrong, right? And it's just a play like that. It just kind of sums up what the season has been. That's kind of one of the talking points too. I mean, Marco Maric, the starting keeper for most of the season, got injured. 80 native, SMU grad Michael Nelson had stepped in for a couple of games. He was looking good. I guess you can say Ramos went with his what he thought was his best lineup,
sure,
right? Because he went with the starting goalkeeper. But maybe throwing him in after
look at that save, though. Maric
right.
did make a couple saves in this match, and this one particularly off a shot from Musajite.
And it's tough to blame him for the way that penalty kind of goes. But ultimately, again, the story is not enough offense, right? Quintero can't get this on frame. Has been scoreless this week in the 2 games.
I did think, though, Victor, I was feeling until this happened, obviously, to kind of, I want to say kill things off, because obviously there's still a lot left in a 2-0 match. But, Houston was sort of trending upward. And we've seen this a lot in Q2 Stadium, where Austin FC is pushing for that second goal and just never comes before halftime.
Right.
Teams make adjustments. Josh Wolf sometimes has made the wrong moves.
Would have made him pay.
A better team would have made them pay, and Austin FC finally, great slip ball by Alex Ring after I thought he took himself out of that play, won the ball back and put it across to Sebastian Driussi, who showed his ability. Here's a guy, Sebastian came in toward the tail of the season. We kind of thought that, in September he might sort of turn things around for this club. It didn't quite happen, but you can still see his quality. This is the first.
I mean, he's a good player.
Well, I guess it's the second time you've seen him, but first time wasn't a very good performance from the whole team.
Yeah.
Austin FC. What did you think of Sebastian Driussi? Seeing him tonight.
He's a quality player, and you give him a ball, right there. I mean, he's not going to miss it. So I think that's kind of part of the story. I mean, give the ball to your best players. Let games for you. In the sense, I don't think Houston did that enough. We talked about, Quintero, but really that free kick was the best opportunity that he had for Houston. I don't think they gave him the ball enough. In the case of Austin, they did give the ball to their best players. Give credit to Cecilio Dominguez. He drove the ball in. He earned the penalty. or at least got the call, in
Yeah.
his favor, and then you get to Drusi, and he he scores it. I think that pretty much sums it up. I mean,
Yeah.
if Austin doesn't do that, they probably don't win this game.
I thought it was fun to see Cecilio Dominguez playing on the right side for quite a bit of this match. Diego Faguna split to the left, where he's found a little bit more success on the wing. And, I'd still kind of like to see Mackenzie Gaines get a start on the wing before this season's done, with Cecilio on the left. But I thought it was nice to see Cecilio play on the right and have some success there, working off of Musajite, working off of Sebastian Drusi, and popping at some different spots than teams have probably seen him on film. So that was an interesting part of this match. And then the other part from Austin FC, before we get back to Houston, that I wrote about on the Striker Texas, you can go read about Danny Pereira at the 6. We've seen him in that role a few times this year. Hasn't always gone well, particularly when Alex Ring has been, suspended and out. But tonight, I thought he played pretty well. He gave away the foul right outside the box, but I think that's a play that earlier in the year he might not have even dragged that player down and might have given up an easy shot. At least lived to fight another day. Got the yellow card. And then, he did have a giveaway toward the end that sort of led to that own goal, but, hard to call that really his fault because they had bodies there to deal with it. But for a young guy, 21 years old, more of a box-to-box midfielder when he got drafted out of Virginia Tech, Josh Wolves really trusted him. He was alone in the 6 tonight, kind of allowed Alex Rin to go forward and play where he likes to play. And I just thought, what I've been thinking about Danny Pereira is, what does this mean for Tomas Pochettino and kind of what we were talking about before the game? I'm really curious to see how they handle this midfield situation going into next season, because it seems like Danny Pereira is a really trusted part of this team, and Josh Wolf sees him as a number 6. So tonight was sort of further proof to that, and let's see if he can keep building on those performances, because he's had a bit of a dip in his form since a hot start.
And then obviously, I mean, if they choose to keep him around, you're finally going to have all these players, these tons of players, have a preseason together.
Right.
That's probably going to help a lot than just being plugged in the middle of the season. And obviously, that Austin has shown the willingness to spend, which is also something, a good sign, at least for the fans. The team willing to invest and trying to put a product.
Salary numbers came out this week, and Austin FC jumped up from, I think they were 26th out of 27 at the start of the year, and now with Sebastian Drusi and Musa Chite coming in, they bumped up to 15th, so right in the middle of the pack spending wise, and Sebastian Drusi is right around there as well, 15th in the league in guaranteed compensation. So that shows you sort of a little bit more ambition and what we've expected that Austin FC would do, but the proof wasn't there until they did sign Sebastian Drusi, and to see his salary, I mean, it's right in that $2.5 million range, which we've seen a lot of. He's right between Nico Ladero and Nani in spend. So I think that kind of tells you the quality that they expect from him, and he's certainly shown it so far.
Yeah, I mean, and you hope you're going to get your word from them. In Houston's case, from a few players, they're getting more than their worth. And some players, they're lacking, right? Again, when these salaries come out, and it's going to provide a lot of discussion. Two of the top paid defenders in the league are on Houston. Obviously, Teenage Hadebe didn't play here today because of injury, and they're not going to risk him for the end of the season. But the partnership with him and Tim Parker hasn't really produced, right? They'll pay both of them $1 million, and what's going to be the approach there in the offseason. Obviously, I think a lot of it is what the owner wants. He believes in these two players. He himself announced these two players, the re-signing of Tim Parker and the signing of Hadebe. So I don't think these guys are going anywhere. But how are you going to make them work? Because otherwise, I mean, the owner doesn't want to look wrong, right?
Right. And speaking of believing, Claudio Reyna at halftime was on ESPN, an interview, and was asked, about Josh Wolf and his job security, whether it's going to be a reevaluation or whether he's safe. And I thought it was interesting. Claudio Reyna, he didn't completely sidestep the question. He said he's been happy with Josh Wolf, so that kind of tells you everything you need to know. And he did kind of put the focus back on the roster build, which I thought was kind of interesting, the way he sort of maneuvered that question and talked about how they're starting to get better with Brucey and Gite, and he expects to bring in some more pieces. And so, I think that further proof to what the fans are feeling, which is that Josh Wolf is safe going into year 2. Whether that's right or wrong, I know there's lots of different opinions, and the interesting thing tonight from the post-match press conference is I asked Josh Wolf again about this idea of Copa Tejas and playing, for a final. And he's not so hot on the idea. He called it Copa de Tejas, so he got close. That's the first time he's actually mentioned it by name. But I think his whole point is that every game matters, and he's not trying to put one above another. But I think the fans are really hungry to hear and to see and to feel that these players care about the same things that they care about.
They criticized them for the lineup last time they went up to Dallas. So I would imagine they expect another starting, the best 11 from us to see when they go up to Dallas.
And they do have a whole week, so you'd expect that the best lineup will go up to Frisco, and hopefully some fans make the trip. And trick or treat, I guess, is what I'm going for. It's Halloween weekend.
And it's also going to be interesting because it's going to be a game that Austin has to go out and get. Not that I think that Dallas is going to hunker down, but I mean, forces Austin to be a little more attacking, especially on and interesting. But Houston obviously out.
They are out, and I guess the takeaways from this rivalry, for me is, obviously with Austin and Houston, the home teams won all three of these. The away team, I guess Houston put up a good showing, fairly good showing the first time around. They really had it tonight. Austin sort of took the game to them, and Austin obviously laid down in Houston. So I think definitely, as far as Austin and Houston's concerned, I don't know if you really take away a top dog from this, these three matchups. It's really just home team wins.
Yeah, pretty much. And I don't know if it's been as competitive. I mean, even the first game here, even though it was 3-2, Dynamo kind of come into it late. They weren't really into it as much because of the red card from Seren in that game. This game also, I don't think they were really, they didn't have a part to play other than showing up and getting on the field. So, and obviously, I think the one with Dallas carries a little bit more importance just because of that Houston versus Dallas rivalry across Texas. I don't know how Austin sees it. Which of the two teams do they see it being a bigger rival? I would imagine at this point it's probably Dallas.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it depends a lot on the fan base. But we were talking earlier about how a lot of these Austin fans, or a lot of Austin in general, there's a lot of connections there with the Metroplex. I've experienced it with my family as far as like my dad and my brother are up in Dallas. I'm here in Austin. A lot of people have parents up in the Dallas area, so I think that there's a little bit more. It's a little bit more personal there. With the Dallas rivalry, and it should be fun to get up there again next week. And again, trophy on the line, Copa Tejas. The only thing really left for these teams to play for necessarily, plenty of contracts and things on the line. But as far as a team performance, I think this means a lot, especially to the fans. So we'll have coverage wall to wall. John Arnold and I will be all over it. We'll have a podcast for you early this week, and then more and more coverage as we get closer to Saturday. And of course, you can check out my takeaways, Victor's pieces from tonight, sort of dissecting this one. And I guess, Victor, anything you want to tease before we get out of here in terms of what you got from the post-match press conferences tonight?
Well, obviously, we'll be posting those on StrikerTexas.com and on the YouTube page. So I think more people have been asking for those, so we're out there delivering, trying to get those conferences up.
Totally, yeah. And I just put my Josh Wolf press conference up there as well. So if you're looking for post-game quotes and some of the stuff that I've talked about that he mentioned, go check that out. It's right in the three takeaways that I already put up on the site. So just check out, if nowhere else, I've tweeted it out. So
right. And also World Cup coverage. FIFA was in town in Dallas. They're going to be in town in Houston Monday, Tuesday. So we'll have coverage of that as well.
Yeah. And Claudia Arena hinted that there's one more game that's going to take place here at Q2 later. So we'll have some reporting on that. We got some stuff to dig into, but it sounds like there's been some reporting out of Mexico that maybe El Tri makes an Austin appearance.
It's already green. It looks like Mexico's home.
So that would be a fun one. That would be a fun one, especially after how much the U.S. men's national teams tried to make this home. But lots of coverage, lots of stuff coming on the Striker Texas, even though the playoffs will not be happening in MLS. At least we'll have coverage of the USSL playoffs. We'll have coverage of off-season moves, and
A
the
lot of
best.
discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lots to discuss with all three of these clubs. So
New coach up in Dallas also.
yeah, keep it tuned to the Striker Texas. We'll have you covered from start to finish from Q2 Stadium. I'm Chris Bils. This is Victor Araiza. Thanks so much for tuning in, and hope you enjoyed your evening. If you're out here in Austin or just watching from home on ESPN, good to see Texas in the spotlight. Again, good night from Q2, and big one next week between Austin and